Hi friend! Thank you so much for watching today. I am super excited to bring you another awesome interview. And today I have Nicole Peltier Hall here, and she is fan-freaking-tastic. I met her because she was part of my yoga teacher training. She taught us all about finding our own voice. And super bonus, the woman's got rhythm. Oh my goodness, she's got rhythm, and she created 2 different beat-based yoga styles. One is rock and roll yoga, and the other is hip-hop hatha. Oh my gosh, so fabulous. We did hip-hop yoga in our yoga teacher training, and it was a blast. She also created a yoga teacher training module on hip-hop hatha. So amazing, so you can actually get trained in this. Oh my gosh. And then teach it to others because it is so much fun. She's also a studio owner. The woman does everything. She travels and teaches yoga in many different locations. She has the yoga teacher trainings, all the things that we get to learn about today in this interview. So, Nicole, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So nice for you to ask me to come.
I love it. So, tell me a little bit about how you ended up doing all of the things, and when did you become a yoga teacher?
Well, I would have never thought I'd be a yoga teacher nor do all the things. So I was the one who showed up to yoga classes because I had to, not because I wanted to, and I was watching the clock all the time. Oh my God, it's only been 5 minutes. Because when you have already built up so much tension and you have not equated what the benefit of stretching will do for not only your body, but all this up here, I had to really throw myself in it like an immersion to commit to really becoming, to just start breaking some of that shell and that hardwiring of more is better. And so I didn't actually want to be a yoga teacher. I'm happy that I am. I lived in California for a little while, did a lot of yoga there. That's where I really got immersed. And then I came back to Tulsa, and I had to be a yoga teacher to have yoga in my life. So I went back to California, did a training, and then I came back and basically just started peddling yoga at the whatever. And one of the first things I did was I approached corporations, and they were all, And so they rounded up money, and I would go to different corporations. So I was probably like a lot of teachers nowadays, driving all over. Half the yoga was in the car, getting to A, B, C. And so that's hard because you burn out quickly. But I opened a yoga studio because I needed a place to teach, and I didn't plan on that either. All this happened to me. And it's been now it's about 19 years that I've been having a studio and teaching there.
Yes, I've heard a lot of that lately. I coach yoga teachers all the time, and they start to use phrases of getting burnt out, driving from here and there, and spending the time in the car.
The burnout of driving to different studios a lot, I would say instead, pick a couple, build those classes. Because if a student knows that you're going to be there, and you're not going to be all over everywhere, then they will commit to you. And then that will grow, and you won't have to spread yourself so thin.
That's wonderful.
And the social media thing is so important right now, although I have dropped those balls because it's just not a hat I want to wear anymore. But a lot of people are really good at promoting on social media. Facebook Live is really good. Most people are scared of that, but I challenge you to do, talk to people in the camera about your class so they actually know what it is. Because there was a time before social media and before all kinds of virtual tours and things like that where people actually did have to show up to find out what it was about. Now that's not the case. People can actually do so much research, and so the more you give them, the more safe they feel, and when they do walk in, they feel like they've already been there. And for yoga, that's a big deal because people are intimidated. So if you can talk to them before, or just at least do some sort of promotion, not about how awesome the class is and how awesome you are, or but actually sharing with people why they are safe.
That's wonderful. One thing that I love, there's a lot of things I love on your website, on your studio's website, and one thing is the virtual tour.
Yeah, it's a virtual tour.
I love that because it shows people what to expect. That's really, and the same thing with Facebook Live of what to expect when you come to class, what kind of movements to expect. And I think that takes away so much of that fear and anxiety of someone coming into
there's
the
so much already, and you know they're seeking solace, peace, and calm, but they have to go through the wall of that anxiety just to get there, and some people won't.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and this day and age, it's more common to know that people are coming to yoga, not necessarily to get a workout, but a work in, and to work on their inner issues. And it seems to be a very supported avenue for people with have experienced trauma, abandonment issues, addiction, you know, toxic relationship, codependency. So they're coming to yoga for healing.
And I love that you were talking about yoga for healing. And that's another thing that you have done, is created it's a yoga teacher training, isn't it? It is, and it also mainly at this juncture, it's I offer it at different studios or retreats, not at festivals as much, because it's really more for dealing with the inside job, the issues and the tissues. So it's a style that I created after I began my journey into my recovery with alcoholism, and it's for anybody who would like to untether themselves from some unhealthy habit pattern. I like to say that versus deal with their addiction. Nobody likes that word. Right.
I don't even like those words, recovery, sober, lame-o. So what I really would like to do is basically offer a container that is a space for people to practice very simple. I didn't call them poses. I call them shapes to express belief systems, or to, you know, empower themselves, or to have the symbol of surrender, because it's more than what we're doing on the yoga mat. It's how is that affecting when you walk out of the studio. When I was able to use yoga to break the chains, I thought, well, I have to let other people in on this. I don't want to keep it to myself. So I created that yoga for freedom. Yoga for freedom. Freedom from, you fill in the blank. And so anybody can come. And but you know, here's another thing about yoga teachers. Come up with something that is unique to you, that you can offer, because everybody knows the yoga, power yoga or beginner yoga, or that they can get that almost anywhere. And even certain styles like Ashtanga or Iyengar, people know what that is, so they can use those teachers at a festival. There's already somebody available. If you come up with your own niche, and so that's what I did with the hip hop and the rock and roll, because it's just fun and it's a way of synchronizing music, which I love music, and yoga, and I love yoga. And then the other kind was for freedom to use the intention and the power and the surrender of yoga to help us free ourselves.
That's incredible. And I love exactly what you said. It is like my marketing heart is so happy when you said niching down, thinking of something that makes you different.
Yeah.
Because every yoga teacher, there's thousands of us out there.
And growing.
Right. There's so many yoga teachers.
Great, I love it.
Right. And each one of us has something different to offer. And so many yoga teachers, I will coach them and they'll say, but yoga is for everyone. And I'll say, exactly. That's why we have to niche down and have to say, I offer for this specific thing or person or whatever it is that narrowed focus, because then you can serve them even better. And the super bonus is that you start earning money doing what you're passionate about.
Oh, it's the best.
You know, I mean, everything from the moment that I met you, everything that you do, you have such a passion for. But if someone said, Nicole, I want you to teach fill in the blank, you know, this class that you're not so passionate about, your passion wouldn't, it just wouldn't come through as much, even though you're incredible at teaching yoga, no matter what it is, it just wouldn't be the same.
It's not the same. I don't think when we do anything kind of contrived or in that, oh, I'm trying to fit myself into this box that's already somebody else's or something else. So I actually, when I started off, my main yoga influencers were Iyengar teachers, which is a very strict, structured alignment. I still take those classes. But for me to try to be that, it wasn't congruent. And although I was fine, because I can just scripted out. It didn't have that fire. And so once you tap into, and you might decide that you want to be a kids yoga teacher, and that's where you really get all bubbly, or you want to be a restorative yoga teacher, and that's where you get like, the time just flies, and that's when you know you found your style, is when time doesn't exist and you would do it for free, and when you would do it for one person and let it grow on its own. Because I think we come out thinking we should all kind of have a popularity just because we're teaching yoga, and you just have to be willing to build it slowly.
And there's one thing that I have given you credit for every time I've said it, and I'll keep saying it because it's so good. It was during my yoga teacher training when you said, teach the class that you would teach even if no one shows up.
Yes.
And I love
and I've done that before. I'm like, no one's here. Awesome. That's the hip hop stuff, because it's so fun.
Good. It is so fun. Oh my gosh. But that's really where it is when you can say, I would still teach that class even if no one showed up, which I love that you say no one showed up to one of your classes.
Oh, so many.
Did it, right?
So many times.
Right. But I mean, to me, it's like, but I would go to your class and there's tons of people because everyone goes to your class. Yeah. But I'm sure, like, it's refreshing to remember that. I'm sure to remember.
Yeah, and if it's and anything you do, whether you're a yoga teacher or you're a restaurateur or you do what you do, if you don't have that little bit of excitement to go into work that day, you're probably in the wrong job.
Yes.
And so if you're doing yoga, teaching yoga, and you're trying to get that paycheck, or try to impress the people, or you're doing because your boyfriend told you to, then you're in the wrong job. It's that this is the reward. Being with you is the reward.
Aww.
I don't suffer. I'm not going to do this and then go reward myself because I gotta spend some time with Amanda and this is going to be hard. So you do things that are congruent, and sometimes that you have to be really a bold force to first find out what that is. And also demand it.
That's awesome.
Not from people, but the universe. You're
Right.
saying, okay, like I'm gonna free fall and do this thing,
and there'll be a net.
and there'll be a net.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, or your wings will appear just at the moment. That's the yoga right there. Is being brave enough to do what is congruent, and also being curious about what that is.
Very true. And that's how you would find what your passion is, and then be able to take that and create a yoga teacher training, or host workshops, or XYZ, fill in the blank. And that's really what I coach yoga teachers to do often, is we'll just sit down and figure out what that is.
Yeah.
And then brainstorm it, because the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Like we just talked about how many things you do. Owning a studio, creating trainings, you have workshops, you travel and teach, you have the superfood stuff, you have all of these things, but it's still serving one person. It's serving a specific person that you are able to feed into and pour into, because that's your passion.
Well, the people that seem to show up at a yoga class are already open to an upgrade.
No, I like that.
So if there's a way you can create a second line of income that can also be interesting to that person, that's what I've done in the last year, is opened up to having something else to offer that person. And since I never did nutrition, I never did the degree of nutrition, and quite frankly, I'm not educated enough to figure that out as far as for yoga students go. But I partnered with a superfood online company, and now that I have like cleanses and transformations, and I have superfood that I can offer people as well as yoga, they're already open to feeling better in their body, so it's not a hard stretch. There's other things that you can do where you've already got the people who are already listening to you, and to help them in another way in their life. And so when you go to a yoga festival, for instance, the headliners, the famous yoga teachers, they're not just teaching yoga. They're offering other things to accrue more money for themselves so they can keep doing what they love. Because we do need to ask for money. We can't do everything for free unless we have a money tree in the backyard. Right. I don't know anybody who does, or else I'd be in their backyard all
Me
long.
too.
No, but so you do need to ask for what you're worth, and don't charge too little. The exchange of money and the amount that you are asking is a little perception too of what is it worth. So if you undercut yourself, then their expectation is it might not be that good. Might not be worth that. So when I first started teaching, I actually asked for more than the going rate. More than I was comfortable asking at the time. I don't even want to put a number out there because people are like, well, that's the average price now. But because I thought this is such value and I want people to really value it and take time for it, come early, stay late, not think, well, this isn't, when they don't have skin in the game, when it's not a value for them, they don't respect it. It's just the way it is.
It's true. I started by giving something for free to test something out. But very quickly, as soon as I realized, okay, this is working, coaching, a course, etc., as soon as I realized, okay, this is working, that's when the value comes in, and you can, and because it's a mindset shift in addition to testing something. And so often I will coach yoga teachers in that, okay, you want to try private sessions, find a friend, okay? Or find someone and charge really low, like what you're comfortable charging. As soon as that person finds someone and they are pouring into them and they find how much they love it and how much it's enjoyable and it's valuable for the other person, then the mindset happens to where you were that said, this is so valuable, I can charge. It's not, I don't feel comfortable. It's all of a sudden, it's, you see the value and the person respects it. Like they show up.
That's what you want. You want commitment. Yeah. So I actually, when I started teaching yoga to be able to survive, because there was no other yoga happening, and there was nobody really too eager coming because they didn't know what it was. I was doing private classes. There was a lot of fear around showing up in a class, and so I was doing private classes, and I had probably 12 a week. It was way too many.
Whoa!
I was burnt out within a month. I was like, what am I doing? So I almost doubled my rate just to sift. Just to sift. It was the win-win of the century because half the people dropped it and the other half paid for them and they showed up, and I got to teach half as much for the same price. So yeah, sometimes that is the best way to do it, is start with a small number or start free, and then go for the for the number that you want. Don't creep up incrementally. Just go for what you're worth, and the ones that aren't willing to do it, they'll drop away, which creates space for the ones that will.
I love that so much. You are the second yoga teacher that I have had, that I've interviewed, that has said that. You create space for the person. Just like the other yoga teacher that said it, said, when you drop a class, so let's say you're teaching at 7 studios and you drop it down to 3 or 4 or whatever, when you drop that class, you're creating space for a new yoga teacher to take on that class. And that's a beautiful thing. It's not a bad thing to let a studio class go if you get to teach more of what you love.
And in the beginning, I was a yes to everything, everything, because I didn't really know yet, and I wanted to be available to everything. But now no is more my friend word, because no creates yeses for me. When I say no, and I think it's the old paradigm is that I'm going to miss out on something if I say no, but actually I'm missing out on something because I said yes, because it's an open door now. I've created a space because I said no to something that I was not sure or wasn't really aligned with, because we can run ourselves rampant just being yes all the time to everywhere. So if you can really, this is where the yoga comes in for the teacher, is to just be able to be safe with ourselves, to say no to the things that are really not firing at 80% at least. I mean, if it's just 40%, cut it out. That's pruning. You got to get rid of it, because you got to create space for the things that are 100.
Oh my gosh, there were so many nuggets of information that we have talked about. This is so good. I would love for you to share if you're open to traveling and teaching your awesome in yoga and all of these things to other studios, because I think people would be interested. Yeah, I have that Raven Yoga for Freedom. It's an online, there's a website, it's ravenyoga.online, and you can find out how you can schedule me to come to your city or even your non-yoga studio. I'm doing events now that are non-studio related, more for inspiration or up-leveling your life, more like an inspirational speaker. And some people will be doing the yoga and some people will just be listening. And then also just the teacher training modules. I've done them at different teacher training groups. It's cueing, it's the hip hop hatha, which now I basically am beat based. It's any kind of music. So good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So So now you have so much to work on because you just have so many nuggets of information. And if you're not lit up and want to chase your passion, then you should contact Nicole because she will get you there as quickly as possible, because from the moment I met her, it was very clear that she is incredibly passionate. And as soon as I met her, she's teaching, and I knew she was so passionate. I had to know her. I walked up to her, she'll tell you this, and I said, hey, can I take you to coffee? And now we're friends.
Yes.
So it was very evident to me that she was someone that I wanted to be aligned with, because she is doing what I teach you to do. She is living everything that I teach, and we didn't even know each other yet. So it was very clear to me. So anything that she says, please follow that advice and just dig deep. Think about what lights you up. And if it's only 40%, let it go. Let it go.
Yeah.
That's your homework.
Filter.
Yes. Filter it out, prune it out, and get ready for the next chapter of your life, because you can earn money teaching yoga and doing what you love, sharing what you love, which is the yoga that you are passionate about. So go do that, and until next time, see you later.